We go for constructors. What is constructors? You know what is the goal of constructors? Initialize the object's memory. To initialize the object memory, we will use the constructor. Constructor is a special member function. No, it is a special member function. It is the same name like a class name. It means it is exactly same name like a class name. In so many interviews, the interviewer will ask whether any particular class, if I show any particular class, in that particular class actually the constructor is not there. For example, class A consisting of m1 method, okay, and class A is closed. Whether the class A consisting of m1 method, one second, I will share you, stop and I will share you. For example, this is the A class. No, in this particular class, there is any constructor? Actually no. But how you are creating a memory here? A is the class name, small a is an object of the class. That means it is creating a memory. New A. Whenever you are creating a class object, then what happens? The memory will be created. When the memory will be created, the internal, if you are not providing any constructor, the compiler will write its own constructor. How they write? Okay, the constructor will be written by the JVM like this. Okay, there is no logic. Whenever the compiler, if you not write the constructor, this is known as a constructor. Constructor is same name like a class name. Okay, it does not accepts any return type. It does not having any return type. Okay. Okay, so constructor is the same name like a class name. It is having some functionality. So if you are not creating any constructor in your class, then there is no memory will be created. You cannot call the methods like this. So how, if you are not creating any constructor here, the compiler will create a constructor for you. Okay, the compiler will create a constructor for you. Please remember that. Till now we written so many classes like book or what is that, student, employee, so many classes we created. Okay, but what happens, every time I not used any constructor, I am not using any constructor. But how the memory is created? The memory is created because of the Java compiler creates a constructor for me. That is a default constructor. That is a default constructor. The Java will be created a constructor for me for each and every class. Okay, now what is the difference? Then you will ask you, sir, whenever Java is creating the constructor, then what is the use? Why should we go for a constructor? Why should we can create a constructor? Java will create, no? Then what is the answer? Anyone knows? Students? Anyone knows the answer? I am telling the concept of constructors. If you not creating any constructor, then what happened? Java compiler will create a default constructor to you. Okay. So then somebody ask some question like this, sir, well, if the Java compiler will create constructor for you, then why should we go and create a constructor? Any answer? Yes, default constructor will be created by the compiler. Yes. If what is my question? I asked you. So, what is the reason behind why should we create the constructor? Whether it is default constructor or parameterized constructor, why should we go and create the constructor? Arguments. Oh no. See here. Okay. I will explain you with the example. For example, see here. I will go with the another package. I will clearly explain you. So right click on the source package. I want a new package, Rajesh dot constructors. Click on finish. Here right click, add a new class. Take the class name is A. See here. If I write a constructor like this, public with class name, here I will write some logic. See, so this is constructor, this is constructor. Okay, see here. I will call in other class. I will go for constructor test. See here, constructor test. I need public static void main. Now see here, if I create an object like this, new A, what happens? What is the output? If I execute this particular program, yes, this is constructor, because see here, right click, run as Java application. Then what happened? We got the output. This is constructor. So the main goal, why should we write the constructor, is we can write our own logic. We can write our own initialization logic at the time of object creation. For example, whenever I create an object for a particular class, this constructor will be invoked automatically, whether that was created by Java compiler or whether that was created by the user. Okay, if user will create, they will write some logic, some initialization logic, or some logic will be written under that particular constructor. If Java compiler creates the constructor, there was no logic. Okay, there was no logic. Okay, please remember that if you create or not creates, the Java compiler will create a constructor for you. That is default constructor. Please remember, this is default, means no arguments. If you create a constructor, you can create any number of constructors in a particular class. For example, I have another constructor, but difference in arguments, int A. So here I will write lucky number is plus A. Okay, I have two different constructors. I can write any number of constructors, but whenever I am creating an object like this, if I pass 22 like this, then what is the answer? What is the answer? Yes, lucky number is 22. So it is known as constructor overloading. Previous concept we understand the method overloading. This is the concept of constructor overloading. So whenever I am creating an object of a particular class, okay, of a particular class, you are giving some number, some argument. Based on the number of arguments, so which constructor can be executed will be identified by the compiler. Okay, you can write any number of constructors, but don't put any return type, because constructor will not take any return type. This constructor is known as default constructor, and this constructor is known as parameterized constructor. What is the advantage? Why should you create a constructor for you? The main goal of the constructor is you can write your own initialization logic or any particular logic that will be executed whenever you create the object. That means whenever you are creating this particular object with parameter, the functionality in the in this particular code, in this particular constructor will be executed. You can write 100 lines of code, or you can write thousands of lines of code, that will be automatically executed. That is the main goal of the constructor. At the same time, you can initialize the formal variables to instance variables. You can initialize also. You can initialize different variables using constructors also. Okay, constructors have many advantages, not only a single advantage. See here, the same points know what I discussed. Okay, first point is constructor has constructor. In a particular constructor, there will be no arguments, then it is called as default constructor. A constructor with parameters consisting of arguments is known as parameterized constructor. A constructor is the same name like a class name. A constructor will be invoked automatically whenever the class object is created. Okay, please remember all the points. The same points will be there with you. Okay.